Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka GLauren33. I am back here with the Legit Shoot podcast here with your SmackDown review and results for June 12th, I believe. Yeah, June 12th, 2020. Depending on when you guys are listening to this, we are just a couple of days away from Backlash. And SmackDown Live tonight, the go home show for Backlash, in my opinion, it was pretty decent. We had a decent segment with Jeff Hardy and Sheamus as they continued their storyline. They had a contract signing for their match at Backlash. We had Sasha Banks and Bayley celebrating their tag team title victory. We also had an amazing, fantastic, easily one of the best matches all year on WWE TV with AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. This might actually be a 5-star match at the end of the day. We'll see how Dave rates it, but I don't know. It was a really good match, and I'm not going to sit here and lie to you guys. Other things that happened, we had a 6-man tag. We had Strowman and Heavy Machinery. Tucker is no longer MIA. Tucker made his return tonight. It's good to see him. It's good to see that WWE didn't forget that he was on the main roster. So it looks like, at least for now, that Heavy Machinery is not being broken up. We had the New Day go up against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. And other than that, that was pretty much it. So there wasn't a lot on SmackDown, mainly because the IC title match took about 40 minutes of the show, and the match was so good I didn't really complain. So basically not too much happened outside of those events, but yeah. So we're going to talk about SmackDown, we're going to talk about Backlash. Just to let you guys know, Backlash is this Sunday, and we will have a full-blown review right here on the podcast. So Sunday night, depending on if you guys are listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you guys listen, you guys will have the Backlash review there waiting for you guys. Hopefully you guys can join me for the stream. If you guys can't, you guys know you guys can find the podcast on demand. Thank you to everyone that live tweeted with me tonight. As always, if you guys want to tweet with me about anime, wrestling, anything like that, follow me on Twitter at GLauren33. So we're going to get into SmackDown tonight. Hopefully you guys continue to stay safe and healthy. Before we get into SmackDown, it was revealed to us that Matt Riddle will be making his official debut on SmackDown next week. I'm not surprised at this at all, mainly because I legit been saying the last couple of weeks that we're not going to see Matt Riddle on SmackDown until after Backlash. It wouldn't really make any sense for him to appear before then, since he's not going to be on the pay-per-view. Definitely it's going to be interesting to see what's the first thing they have on tap for Matt Riddle. I don't see them, throwing him into a title match right away. Maybe, it'll be interesting. I would love to see Matt Riddle and AJ Styles feud for the IC title, but I don't know, if it's too early for something like that. But we'll just have to wait and see until next week on SmackDown. In other news, also, Bruce Pritchard. You guys know he is the creative director for SmackDown, and you guys know I can be pretty hard on Bruce, but I will say this: SmackDown, the last, I would say, 2-3 weeks has been, pretty decent, mainly because of what's going on with Sasha Banks and Bayley, Jeff Hardy and Sheamus, and the IC title tournament. I haven't really been invested in the Universal title or anything like that, or the SmackDown Tag Team division, but because of those other elements, SmackDown has been pretty decent. It hasn't been great or anything, but it's been decent enough, for me to say, the shows aren't terrible and they're actually watchable to a certain extent. While Bruce is taking over Raw as well, Paul Heyman has basically been fired. WWE put out a quick memo on their website, but I'm going to be honest with you guys. Paul Heyman was fired. Yes, it said that, Heyman's going to be focusing more on his TV character, which would be, just being Brock Lesnar's manager. Heyman doesn't do anything else on TV other than manage Lesnar. So, clearly, this was just WWE trying to, make it look like everything's alright with Paul Heyman and Vince's relationship. No, Paul Heyman was fired. Alright? And at the end of the day, Vince is doing this because he's always going to fire and blame the producers like Bruce, like Paul Heyman, like Eric Bischoff before he was fired. He's always going to blame them and make them look bad in the eyes of the public before ever blaming himself. It's just facts. Alright? Vince will never come out and take the blame for anything. If something's bad on WWE TV, it's Paul Heyman's fault. It's Bruce Pritchard's fault. If something is good with WWE, Vince McMahon takes all the credit. You know? He's doing this because the Raw ratings are good. SmackDown ratings have been decent, mainly because, SmackDown's on free TV. Most people have access to Fox. And remember, we're in a pandemic, even though we're trying to get back to normal, but still we're in a pandemic. So most people with cable have Fox. There's some people that don't have the USA Network. Alright, depending on your TV plan and all that other stuff. So it would make sense, especially with how much Fox is paying WWE for SmackDown on Fridays. It would make sense for Friday Night SmackDown to have better ratings. Even though SmackDown has been decent, let's not act like SmackDown is now on NXT level shows. No. Most of the time SmackDown is horrible and doesn't make any sense. So I wanted to get that out of the way, but Vince sees how bad the Raw ratings have been, and he wants to make changes. And by firing Paul Heyman and bringing Bruce on to be the Raw creative director now for both main roster shows, he's hoping that's going to be a turnaround. No, change will not be made until Vince McMahon is gone. And when Vince McMahon is no longer in charge of creative, and he lets Triple H take over, that's when we'll actually see WWE go back to the way things were in the past. Paul Heyman, you think Paul Heyman really wasn't capable of running Monday Night Raw by himself? No, it's because at the end of the day, no matter what he wanted to do, Vince McMahon gets the final say on all decisions. That's just the way it goes. And it's sad, but that's just the way the game goes. Like, Paul Heyman, we heard all these reports. He wanted to put Humberto. He wanted to put Ricochet. He wanted to put Cedric Alexander. How many times do we hear that Paul Heyman is high on this superstar and wants to push them? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter who Paul wants to push. If he doesn't like the superstar at the end of the day, if he doesn't approve it, if he doesn't give it a big green check mark, they're not going to get pushed. Why do you think Charlotte freaking Flair has 12 title reigns? Because of Vince. It's not because anybody in creative wants Charlotte to be champion. It's because Charlotte is one of Vince's people, just like Roman Reigns. Until Vince McMahon is out of power, WWE is not going to change. It's not going to get better. Paul Heyman, getting fired, or them saying that, they want him to focus on his on-screen talent, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's just WWE trying to hide the fact that Paul Heyman was fired behind the scenes the same way Eric Bischoff was months ago, and Vince McMahon looking for excuses for his failure. It's that simple. And when Bruce, and months later, if WWE doesn't get better, Vince will probably just fire Bruce and bring in another one of his yes men to take over the role. It's really that simple. I don't understand if Vince will ever get to the point where he realizes he needs to be the guy to go if WWE wants to continue to succeed. It's just that simple. It also makes me scared for NXT. Look at all the NXT talent getting called up. NXT doesn't feel as special as it used to be. It feels like more and more slowly, that Vince McMahon has more and more influence on that show when it should just be Triple H. How long till we hear that NXT is making big changes? That's something for you guys to keep your eyes on. But enough of me with that little mini rant. Let's get into SmackDown. So the show started off with a contract signing between Sheamus and Jeff Hardy for their match at Backlash. And the thing about it is, this was kind of already spoiled because earlier in the week there was multiple wrestling news sites. Excuse me. There was multiple wrestling news sites that were out talking about this, talking about how the segment was gonna go, and I'm not gonna lie, the segment was fine. I didn't mind it at all. Sheamus came out with a doctor, he had bodyguards, and Jeff Hardy came out. Hardy talked about his problems and how he's trying to get better for his family and his friends, and how a bastard like Sheamus tried to ruin and take that all away from him. Sheamus, being the heel, of course, denied all of this and said that Jeff Hardy was just once again making excuses for his failures. So then, basically, Sheamus also said that he would refuse to get into a ring with Jeff Hardy unless he passed a urine test. He said this was, this so-called urine test, usually they take a couple days to process, a couple days to make sure everything's all right, but this one was a special test that would give the answer right away. Even though, it didn't make any sense, because if you think about it, even if Jeff Hardy passes this urine test, it's 2 days per storyline. It's 2 days before the pay-per-view. If Jeff Hardy wanted to, he could get drunk or anything like that, a couple days before the pay-per-view, and then still be in the clear. Wouldn't it make more sense for Hardy to take the urine test before, right on Sunday night, right before their match at Backlash? With them doing the urine test tonight, that still leaves 48 hours for something to happen. I'm just trying to be objective and logical about this. It's common sense at the end of the day, And then basically they had a little booth where Hardy could go and give a urine sample, but this looked oddly familiar. I was like, where have I seen this before? And then someone clipped it to me on Twitter. I would put the clip here, but it would most likely get copyrighted. And I was like, come on, WWE. It just shows like their uncreativity. So basically, for people who have been watching the product for a long time, back in 2006, when Shawn Michaels was feuding with Vince McMahon and Shane McMahon, this was like right before Triple H turned babyface and they reformed DX. And basically, but before Shawn could have a match with Vince and Shane, they made him take a urine test. And the thing about it is, while Shawn Michaels was taking the urine test, Fitz McMahon went in front of the camera and said, "Kids, don't drink, don't do drugs, don't be a loser," things like this. And basically, Sheamus said the exact same thing that Vince said during that promo about 14 years ago. It was verbatim. If you put the segments side by side, they said the same exact thing. It's like Vince, I don't know who wrote it, but it's an Easter egg, but it's also uncreative. Because OG fans like me, who have been watching WWE our entire lives, can remember this kind of stuff. Because Shawn Michaels versus Vince McMahon and Shane is kind of iconic because it led to DX reforming in 2006, and I was very young at that time. Alright, so I remember it. But it just came off to me as uncreative. Like, it wasn't bad or anything, but the fact that I was able to remember it probably, makes it clear that many others were able to remember it as well. So, yeah. But the thing about it is, afterwards, Jeff Hardy comes out with a huge, tub of urine, even though it looked like ginger ale. It was probably something like that. There's no way Jeff actually pees like that. Like, let's be serious here. There's no way. Almost no one pees that much in a normal thing. But verbatim, they did the same exact thing that they did with the Shawn Michaels segment. Jeff said the same thing that Shawn did 14 years ago, and basically, Sean said, which Jeff said, he said, you know, you must really be enjoying this. Well, there is a classic saying. It's one thing to be pissed off, but it's another thing to be pissed on. And he throws the urine in Vince and Shane's face, just like Jeff Hardy threw the piss on Sheamus in this segment. All right, and then Jeff, leaves the ring while Sheamus is, sitting there in shock. They just got urine thrown over him, and he's angry. So, the segment wasn't bad or anything. You know what I mean? But it was just, kind of predictable, a little bit uncreative how they did the same segment 14 years ago with the same exact lines. Like, they could at least, change the script a little bit. Like, but no, they had Jeff say the exact same thing that Sean said all those years ago. Which, Lance Diddy will probably say something like, this is a newer audience. But even though people like me who've been watching our entire lives can still remember stuff like that happens. So come on, WWE, do better. Anyway, we come back from commercial break. Sheamus is backstage. He's absolutely livid at what has transpired. And then the doctor comes in and says, yeah, Jeff is negative. So the match is on. Hardy versus Sheamus at Backlash. Look, I don't really know how to call it. I'm going to go with Hardy just because he's the babyface. And like I've been saying the last couple of weeks, I feel like they're setting up something bigger here. They're setting up something bigger here for Jeff. It seems like now AJ Styles, he's staying heel. As now he's IC champion with Daniel Bryan and getting ready to, have a kid in the next couple months. And we don't know when Roman's coming back. It just feels like they're going to set up Jeff Hardy for a future Universal Championship opportunity. I just don't see, even though Jeff Hardy versus AJ Styles for the IC title, that would be a damn good match, a damn good feud. But it just feels like they're setting up Jeff for something much bigger, especially with the lengths they're going with the storyline. I saw CM Punk on WWE backstage talk about how he wasn't really a fan of where this is going, and I completely understand it, but to me, with my mindset, if Jeff is okay with it, with the script and everything they're doing with the storyline, that's fine. And as long as he feels that it's not going to get, in the way of his real life rehab, of actually getting better, that's fine. That's the way I see it at the end of the day, I probably may have had a different take on this segment if I didn't realize that this segment had been done 14 years ago in the past with Shawn Michaels and Vince and Shane. But the fact that they went back into the archives and brought this out, I'm not going to get too mad at it. It's a little bit, uncreative, but hey, it is what it is there. But I just feel like Jeff's going to win this match. They're definitely building him up for something bigger after this. So getting into the in-ring action, we had the New Day up against Shinsuke Nakamura and Cesaro. I don't know what's going on, if we're still getting that New Day Forgotten Sons feud. It's not that I cared at the end of the day. It just felt like that's what they were building up to. But you guys have heard me. I've been bitching and moaning about the tag team division for weeks now, and this just shows how weak SmackDown's tag team division really is. The New Day came out, and I did like this. Kofi and Big E took a knee before the match began. If you guys listened to the New Day podcast earlier this week, they had like a 2-hour discussion talking about everything going on with the Black Lives Matter movement, the George Floyd situation, all that. It was a really good podcast, so go, listen to that if you guys haven't already. But I did like how they had that little kneel at the beginning here. So, definitely appreciate the New Day for what they did with that whole situation. But this match shows how weak the tag team division is. Cesaro and Nakamura, I guess you can consider them a team. We're still waiting for Sami Zayn to come back. And they did say that Sami Zayn would be feuding with the winner of the IC tournament. But I don't know how that's going to go, because Zayn is a heel, Styles is a heel. Unless they could turn Styles babyface, but I just don't think they're doing that at this moment. But Nakamura and Cesaro are part of a team per se, but you look at it, there's no teams on SmackDown. You do have Heavy Machinery, you have Miz and Morrison, you have the Forgotten Sons, you have Lucha House Party, but that's pretty much it. You saw that whole tag team division at Backlash. And even though it was a good match, 4 or 5 teams is not enough for a division. It's better than Raw, I'll say that. It's better than, the Street Profits and the Viking Raiders having freaking triathlons every single week. You know what I mean? But still, the tag team divisions, like I always say, they need to be merged. You just don't have enough teams. And bringing up the Undisputed Era eventually, or whatever they have planned, I just don't see it as, doing the trick. But either way, the New Day go up against Cesaro and Nakamura, and Cesaro and Nakamura actually pick up the shock victory. I guess this was to give Cesaro and Nakamura a shot at the gold before Backlash. I don't know if this will be on the pre-show or something like that. I haven't heard anything about this match being announced, but honestly, this feels like a last minute, let's throw something together for these two. I don't see that, you had Cesaro and Nakamura win. Nakamura won via roll up on Kofi Kingston, but I think we can, agree that they're not taking the titles off the New Day, at least not right now. There's really nobody in that tag team division, so it kind of only makes sense to keep them off on the New Day. It's just me being honest at the end of the day, but the match wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything special. But if you guys want to talk about instant classics, let's talk about AJ Styles versus Daniel Bryan. This was great. We've been hearing, because I heard this match was filmed a couple weeks ago. I don't know when it was filmed, but we've been hearing that this match was filmed way before SmackDown tonight, at least a week and a half in advance this match was filmed. And we've been waiting for this match. We knew when this whole IC tournament started that the most likely two in the finals would be AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan. We knew it would only make sense. And before the match even began, they put up this huge video package talking about the history of the IC title, everything it means to WWE, all these other things like superstars like Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels, Ultimate Warrior, The Miz, Dolph Ziggler, all these superstars who have held the IC title over the years. They also showed a thing of like how the title belt has changed, its design has changed over the years. When it had a black covering, then it had the white leather. Now it has a completely different design, even though the title looks absolutely beautiful. But you guys get the point. But if you look at it, we knew it was going to be these two in the finals. Some of us were confused. Is this match going to happen on SmackDown? Is this match going to happen on Backlash? It would make the most sense for this match to happen at Backlash. Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles, they've had some instant classics over the years. Remember last year when Bryan turned heel, the new Daniel Bryan and Styles, was babyface, and a heel Daniel Bryan low blowed Styles. The end Styles is like, what was it? It was like a little over a year. It was close to 400 days, but to end his title reign after all that time. Styles and Bryan have amazing chemistry, and we knew this match was going to be good. It was just going to depend on how long the match, was going to be, how much time they would be given, would they be allowed to go all out, and things like that. After, talking to people on social media, it made complete sense why Styles and Bryan was not on Backlash. And it's because they're too good for Backlash. WWE Backlash this year is being advertised and marketed as the greatest wrestling match ever between Edge and Randy Orton. It makes me sick to my stomach because I've been saying that for weeks on the podcast, that there was no shot, no chance in hell, like Vince's theme song goes, there was no shot that this would be the best match ever. We'll be lucky if this is match of the week. We'll be lucky if this is match of the night at Backlash. It makes perfect sense if you guys think about it. If you look at what Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles did tonight, the match went about, what was it, close to 40 minutes, I believe. It started around 8:40, ended around 9:20. Is the match was absolutely incredible. You really think Orton and Edge in a match that you are marketing and advertising as the greatest wrestling match ever, even though 99.9% of WWE fans, including Randy Orton and Edge themselves, know that this won't be anywhere close to the greatest wrestling match ever? Let's be serious here. I'm not anything if not honest. Like, come on. If you look at it, man, if you had put Bryan and Styles on Backlash, if you put that match on the card, not only, and looking at what they did tonight, Styles and Bryan may have had a 5-star match. That may have been a 5-star match on WWE TV tonight. The story was perfect. The match itself was great. The momentum, the intensity, everything. Even the fan interaction, the NXT crowd was brilliant. Do you really think Edge and Orton are going to come anywhere close to that? No. If you put if you put Styles and Bryan on that Backlash card, especially if you put that match before Edge and Orton, do you really think they can honestly call Orton and Edge the greatest wrestling match ever when you have a 5-star classic like that with Styles and Bryan tonight on SmackDown? No. So it makes sense why we didn't get Styles and Bryan at Backlash and we got it tonight on SmackDown. Because deep down, everybody knows that Edge and Orton will not come close to what we saw with Styles and Bryan tonight. It's that's one of the many reasons why it pisses me off that this match is being called the greatest wrestling match ever. But we've been talking about this. I've been saying for weeks now that I have no problem with either one of these men. You guys know that it's Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles, depending on how long you guys have been watching me. You guys know that these two are arguably my two favorite on the main roster. When it comes to the male superstars, female superstar, easily Sasha Banks, best female wrestler in the world. I don't think you guys need me to say that, anymore. I think you guys get the point. But we knew this match was going to be great. And I said this, I have no problem with either one of these two winning. Either one of these two would make to be a great IC champion. Bryan's been a IC champion in the past. Remember when he won it at WrestleMania 31 in that ladder match. Styles has never held the IC title. But I would have no problem with either one of these two. They're both big name vets. They're going to bring prestige to the IC title, which it needs. The IC title has not been hasn't felt important in years, no matter who was holding the title. The only time I actually cared about the title in the last year was probably when Sami Zayn first introduced the new IC title belt to Shinsuke Nakamura way back, last year. You know what I mean? And these two are both going to bring prestige to the belt, kind of like how John Cena brought prestige to the U.S. Championship. It's time to make mid-card titles care more again. Look at what Cody Rhodes is doing in AEW with the TNT Championship. There's a reason why the IC title and the US title are both considered the working titles of WWE. Because they're supposed to be defended and held by big names. Or not big names, but they're supposed to be defended by people who are not afraid to defend that title at any point in time, in any situation. And Bryan and Styles delivered that tonight. This match was incredible. Daniel Bryan held the advantage early on. He spent the first part of the match, working and wearing out Styles' left arm. We come back. Styles is basically working on Bryan's left knee. So Styles had the arm injury, Bryan had the knee injury, and we knew, Styles does the phenomenal forearm with the right arm, so it wasn't as bad for him. But Bryan, when he's doing special moves like the running knee, it would make it more difficult because you wouldn't be able to, pull through all that momentum and energy because of the injured knee. But the match was great. There was like 3 or 4 commercial breaks, which I didn't mind because this was a U.S. championship match. Or not U.S., this wasn't a world title match. This was the finals. I didn't understand why we couldn't get this amount of energy all the time on the WWE Superstars. It was freaking fantastic. The back and forth action never stopped. Bryan got Styles in with a Yabel lock near the end here. Styles was able to fight out of it. Styles then reversed it into a Styles class, but didn't go for the pin. But right afterwards, he rose to the outside of the ring, goes for the phenomenal forearm, hits a beautiful phenomenal forearm, pins Bryan. 1, 2, 3. AJ Styles is your new IC champion. He was then interviewed by Renee Young, and Styles said, I am one of the greatest WWE champions ever, and the WWE Universe knows that. And now the IC Championship is now phenomenal. I wouldn't have mind because this match was so great. I think Dave needs to at least give it 4.6 stars, 4.75 stars. Yeah, at a minimum 4.5 stars. But I definitely think this would be a 5-star match, especially considering how great this match would have been if we were in front of a complete live audience in an arena, like everything was normal. Considering the circumstances for AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan to go out there and put on the match that they did, there were so many layers to this. The storytelling, the injuries, the in-ring maneuvers, the IC title itself. These are 2 of the best in the world. And I wish WWE would do this with so many other, matches. They let these 2 go out there and fight for as long as they wanted. It honestly feels like, the people backstage were like, here, go have as long a match as you want. And the match went nearly 40 minutes, if you count, the commercial breaks. But without the commercial breaks, it's still a 30-minute classic. The match was spectacular from top to bottom. It wasn't them just doing finishing moves, no. They brought everything out of their playbooks for this. Their chemistry is so fantastic. I saw JD put on his social media saying how basically Styles and Bryan have chemistry very similar to Gargano and Ciampa. I don't think that's a far stretch. Every time these 2 are in the ring together, they put on something special. And tonight was nothing less of that. It's kind of good for AJ because if you guys remember when he was champion last year and when Bryan was the heel, Bryan got the upper hand on him. So it's like Bryan did the deed for him this time around, evening the odds. So, like I said, I didn't mind either one of these 2 winning. I would have not complained. It made more sense for Styles to be champion, in my opinion, because he's the heel, and I feel like there's way more baby faces that he can go up against with the title than Daniel Bryan can at the moment. But I'm willing to bet we're gonna get another Styles and Bryan match. We're definitely gonna get this. Look, if WWE gave us a Charlotte and Asuka match 2 weeks in a row because everyone was talking about how good Shawn and Asuka was the week prior, what makes you not think that they're going to do Styles and Bryan again? No matter if it's at Extreme Rules, it might just be on SmackDown next week. I think Styles is going to be a great IC champion. And you got to think about it. When you think of the IC championship, you think of some of the greatest matches in WWE history. Like I said, it's the workhorse title. So, what I'm hoping for, me personally, what I'm hoping for is that WWE actually makes the IC title important. I also hope the same thing for the United States Championship. You have the title on the perfect guy. AJ Styles is the perfect guy to be the IC champion. And you think about some of the matches he can have. You can do Daniel Bryan again. You can do a Drew Gulak. You can do a Sami Zayn. Even though I don't know how it's going to work out because both are heels. But you can do Nakamura. You can do Cesaro. There's so much talent on SmackDown. You can do Dolph Ziggler. I'm just thinking of all the names that come to my head right away. A Jeff Hardy, a Sheamus. There are tons of people that you can put Jeff Hardy, or not just Jeff Hardy, you can put AJ Styles up against with that IC champion. And definitely, I think he's going to do well. You guys remember when AJ was on Raw last year, he was the United States champion. And I think he did a decent job with the title. I just don't think WWE did a good enough job with the feuds they had him with. They had him go up against Cedric Alexander. They had him go up against Ricochet. They had him go up against Humberto. And I have no problem with those men. I just feel like Vince never gave Styles and those other men the green light to go out there and give us a 5-star classic. Vince clearly gave Styles and Bryan the green light for this match. I just wish they did that when Styles was United States champion with those other guys. But I am definitely excited. Imagine an AJ Styles, versus a Chad Gable, or an AJ Styles versus a freaking Mustafa Ali. Like, there are so many matches they can do with Styles. So many different stories and feuds. I just hope that WWE doesn't mess it up. The IC title needs to be prestigious once again. And no pun intended, it's on somebody pretty phenomenal right now. Some people consider AJ the best wrestler in the world. I just hope that WWE books that title like AJ Styles is known as. It's time for the IC title to become phenomenal once again. And they have the right guy, they have the right person, they have the right circumstances to get the job done. You had AJ and Daniel Bryan give us, arguably, when we look back at the end of this year, this is going to go down as one of the best matches of the year. We're not going to be talking about Randy Orton and freaking Edge at Backlash. Now, we're going to be talking about, hey, you remember when Styles and Bryan gave us a 40-minute classic on SmackDown? Yeah. That's what we need more of. And AJ can deliver that with anybody on SmackDown, with anybody on this roster. And hopefully they allow him to do that and make the IC Championship prestigious again. Like I said earlier, it was rumored that Sami Zayn would be feuding with whoever wins this match. So we'll just have to wait and see. Look, AJ Styles versus Sami Zayn would be fantastic. The only thing I don't know is, maybe unless you turn AJ babyface, because it doesn't make sense for Sami Zayn to be babyface, but we'll just have to see what route they go by in that situation. As always, before we continue here on the podcast, we got a quick message from one of the biggest supporters of the Legit Shoot. We'll be right back. What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you back here to the Legit Shoot podcast, and we have the best guest we could ever ask for. She is the legit boss, the blueprint, the standard, the greatest female wrestler of all time, the one, the only Mercedes Varnado, aka Sasha Banks, is here. Sasha, thank you so much for joining us. What's going on?
Hi George, how are you? I hope your day is going well. Thank you so much for the request and the questions.
No problem, Sasha, but before we let you go, I have 2 quick questions that I'm dying to ask. Alright, I gotta hear your answer to these. I'm gonna make it tough on you. Outside of Bayley, because I know she's your BFF and you've said so many times how she's the best match you've ever had. Outside of Bayley, what are your favorite matches that you've had so far in your WWE career? And question number 2, you have so many great ring gears. What is your favorite ring gear out of the million that you've had so far in your WWE career?
That is super hard. Bayley is my favorite
yeah, we know.
all time. But my favorite matches besides with her definitely has to be my Hell in a Cell against Becky.
That was the best female.
That match was just insane and changed my
best
life
female
forever.
wrestling match of the whole year.
I can't believe that match. I'm really proud of that match. Who else? Let me try to think of someone who's not Becky or Bayley. I've had some really good ones with Ruby. I love working with her. I like Ruby, Ember. I like that triple threat we did.
Wish we could see more of that.
What else can I remember? The one from Boston with Nia. That's one of my favorite matches.
Okay.
I hope you don't mind. I'm just thinking. I'm sorry.
You gave us a lot of answers.
That's a lot of answers. I gave you an answer. So, no, those are my answers. And my favorite ring gear ever.
I can't wait to hear this.
Probably Wonder Woman.
Royal Rumble.
Of course, my Eddie Guerrero one.
Yep. WrestleMania 32.
From recently, I really love the
the red and blue one, yes.
Clash of Champions.
Yep.
Gear that
love
I
that
have,
one.
The navy one and red and gold. So that's my favorite ones. Thank you so much for this question.
Thank you.
I'm so thankful you're a fan, George. So thank you so much for sending this to me. I hope you have an amazing day. I hope you stay safe
for joining
and well.
us, man.
And thank you so much for being a fan. Bye.
Huge shout out to Sasha Banks for joining us here on the Legit Shoot podcast, man. The #1 wrestling podcast on YouTube, because we tell it how it is like nobody else does. So make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new, man. Peace. Alrighty, guys. So after we come back from the break, we transition from the best match possibly of the year on SmackDown to the best female superstar of all time, Sasha Banks and Bayley, with a celebration for their women's tag team championship win last Friday on SmackDown. And before we get into this, I just gotta say, Sasha Banks and Bayley, throughout the last week, they have made the tag team championships more relevant than they've been in the last year and a half, when they should have never lost those titles at WrestleMania 35 to the freaking Iconics. In the last week and a half, those titles have been in the main event of SmackDown. They were on Monday Night Raw in multiple segments, on SmackDown again tonight, a championship match at Backlash, and it was announced on Wednesday at NXT that this Wednesday on NXT, the winner of the Women's Tag Team Championship match at Backlash will be going to NXT to go up against Tegan Knox and I think it was Chelsea Williams. I forget her name. The girl with the green hair. Alright. In a tag team title match. And if you guys think about it, it's funny. Sasha Banks and Bayley complained to Vince how much they wanted those tag team titles. And when they won those titles, they were supposed to go to all three brands, right? Including NXT. Then WWE foolishly took those titles off of Sasha Banks and Bayley, which should have never happened. But yet those titles never were defended at NXT. They barely even went to other brands. The Iconics freaking defended those titles against jobbers. And as much as I love Asuka and Kairi Sane, they really didn't do anything with those titles. Neither did Bliss and Cross. So I find it ironic how it took a year after Sasha and Bayley lost those titles for WWE to finally have those titles get defended in NXT. Remember when Sasha Banks and Bayley went to NXT after winning those titles last year? Like, this company sometimes, like, it really does, mind blow me, the kind of logic that they have. But still, I love it, At least when you have the Women's Tag Team Championships on Sasha Banks and Bayley, especially the best female wrestler in the world, those titles are going to mean something. Sasha Banks and Bayley carrying those titles, they don't feel like props. And even though we know eventually that those titles are going to be used to, help facilitate the breakup between Sasha Banks and Bayley, still, it's going to be better than anything we've seen with those titles in the last year, since they were taken off of Sasha and Bayley at WrestleMania 35 last year. So, you're welcome. Because you had freaking Paige on WWE Backstage with saying, oh, I wish it wasn't the same people being pushed all the time. Well, maybe if you ask the people that held those titles, since Sasha Banks and Bayley were holding them, to actually do something with those titles, maybe we wouldn't be in this predicament. Anyway, clearly Sasha Banks and Bayley are going to successfully defend on Backlash. I will be utterly shocked if they lose. Even though we're waiting for the breakup to happen between those two, and we have no idea when that's going to happen, I expect Sasha Banks and Bayley to successfully defend. If you think about it, it doesn't make sense for Bliss and Cross to go to NXT. It doesn't make sense for the freaking Iconics. No one wants to see that. Vince has been talking about, wanting to bring up the NXT ratings. Hell, if you put Sasha Banks and Bayley on NXT, that's going to bring up the ratings. And they'll have a damn good match with Tegan Nox. Honestly, if you ask me, that should be the main event of NXT next week. And I will be doing an NXT review live. Even though I'll be at work, I'll be doing a live NXT review next week right after the show goes off the air. Because that's going to be a banger. I'm very confident that Sasha Banks and Bayley are going to defend successfully at Backlash. And then, they'll most likely have Bayley defend her title at Extreme Rules. I don't know, against maybe Dana Brooke. I don't know. It'll be retarded. Because then it would have been already close to 2 months since Bayley has not defended that title since Money in the Bank. Even though I've been the one on record saying that Bayley should not be defending that title till Extreme Rules next month. Anyway, getting on to the segment. So we get a celebration. We have balloons and everything for Sasha Banks and Bayley. Sasha and Bayley came out. I will say one thing. One thing that does annoy me, even though we're all waiting for that breakup, I do hate how Sasha and Bayley have been basically attached to the hip to one another. Ever since, Bayley came to the main roster, Sasha Banks and Bayley have been attached to one another. When was that? 2017? If you look at the last 4 WrestleManias. The last 4 WrestleManias, Bayley and Sasha have been in the same match every year. They're always involved in each other's storylines. No matter if they're baby faces or heels. Like, I'm just trying to make sense of the whole situation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just spitting facts. So that does kind of annoy me a little bit. I hate how we almost never get to hear Sasha Banks' full theme song. Because every time Sasha comes out, Bayley's theme song plays just a couple seconds afterwards. And I can't stand Bayley's theme song. Or no matter... It was one thing to have to deal with when she was a babyface. As a heel, it's even worse. Because that theme song is awful. I just wish they would just play Sasha's theme song all the time. But anyway, Sasha and Bayley come out. There was a funny moment where Sasha gave Michael Cole, the sunglasses. Michael Cole was going like, it's boss time. And then Sasha and Bayley pretended like they were going to take a selfie with Michael Cole, but they just kept blocking him. It was a funny joke. But then Sasha and Bayley, they start talking about how they're 2-time tag team champions. Sasha legit grabbed the mic and said, I told you guys that we would get our titles back when we wanted to, which is kind of facts. It's kind of facts. But I was kind of hoping they would bring up how, you guys remember last year when Sasha first came back, when she cut that promo, she talked about how she was defending tag team titles that she just didn't give a damn about. I was kind of hoping they would go more in depth on that. And, if the day we wanted to, I thought they would at least cause a little more tension between Sasha Banks and Bayley. Which I mean is, I was hoping that if you look at it, last week Bayley almost cost Sasha the victory. So remember, Sasha had the bank statement on Nikki Cross and Bayley tagged herself in just so she could do the bank statement. Remember, she pulled Sasha out of the way. I was kind of hoping that, Sasha would bring up how, Bayley's antics almost cost him the victory last week. And, for them to plant more seeds of freaking of a breakup, of conflict between the two. But they didn't, which is fine or whatever. We'll just see at Backlash. I expect them to plant some more seeds. Even though I expect Sasha and Bayley to retain at Backlash, I expect some kind of conflict There are more seeds to be planted. Because this breakup is slow, but when things fire up, it's going to be great. But Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross came out. Nobody cared. Because Bayley was about to read a poem to Sasha about their friendship and everything. Bliss and Cross were like, yeah, we're happy. You guys can celebrate all you want, but when you guys start reading poetry to one another, that's when the line gets crossed. And then Nikki Cross was like, yeah, we love the party. Then also we had the Iconics show up on the Titantron, and basically the Iconics went on telling about how they beat Sasha Banks and Bayley at WrestleMania last year. It gets annoying hearing that because they say that every single time. Like, it's annoying. It really is. Like, freaking Billie Kay looks like Molly from First Take. Like, get off my screen. Even though I kind of want to see more of Sasha and Peyton Royce after that good chemistry they had last Monday. But basically, the Iconics, I could already see where this was going. You see Bliss and Cross back up from Sasha Banks and Bayley. The Iconics said, yeah, the same way we laid you two out on Monday, you guys better look behind you. And then Bliss and Cross laid Sasha out. Sasha and Bayley grabbed their titles and they ran. So clearly, it looks like they're setting up Sasha and Bayley to win on Sunday, since the Iconics and Bliss and Cross looked or got over on the champs this week. So usually when that happens, that means Sasha Banks and Bayley, or at least the victims, usually come out at the pay-per-view, and that's would make the most sense, like I said, for Sasha Banks and Bayley's storyline, and because NXT this Monday, who would not want to see Sasha and Bayley on NXT going up against Tegan Nox and the green hair woman? Alright, but yeah, we'll just have to wait until Sunday and see how that all goes. We'll see if Sasha and Bayley have some new matching gear. Because you guys remember when they were tag champs last year, they had some amazing ring gear, so we'll see if we get anything like that on Sunday. Alright, finally, we had a 6-man tag team match. We had Heavy Machinery and Braun Strowman. Tucker has been found. I've been pretty concerned the last couple weeks that Tucker, WWE had broken up Heavy Machinery without any notice, but it looks like Vince or somebody in creative remembered that Tucker is Otis's partner, so I'm happy on that. So we can get rid of the milk cartons. Tucker is still alive. Heavy Machinery for now is still together. Going up against Miz and Morrison and Dolph Ziggler. I didn't care about this match at all. I really didn't. Let's be serious. The only reason why we're getting Miz and Morrison against Strowman is because Bray Wyatt's not here. Bray just had his baby, so yeah, that's the situation there. We'll just have to wait until Backlash is over to continue Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman. Honestly, I don't care about this 2-on-1 handicap match. I don't think that's probably my piss break. Otis, will he cash in at Backlash? I don't think he will, but we'll have to wait and see. It seems like they're setting up something with Mandy. Remember, she's still feuding with Sonya Deville, but it seems like they're setting up something like maybe Mandy costs Otis money in the bank, something like that. Alright, it's like Mandy's trying to push Otis to cash in. Remember, Otis still has a whole year to cash in, but I feel like they might do something like Mandy tries to push Otis to cash in. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But in terms of the match, I didn't watch. I just know that the ending, Strowman destroyed Miz and Morrison at ringside, shoulder tackling them into the plexiglass, and Otis hit the caterpillar on Dolph. You knew Dolph was going to take the pin, because you're not going to make Miz and Morrison take the pin, at least not until Sunday. We all know on Sunday, Strowman's going to do like a double running power slam on both Miz and Morrison for the win. We know that's coming, alright? But Otis as the Caterpillar gets the win, does the elbow drop, 1, 2, 3. Mandy, Heavy Machinery, and Strowman celebrate their victory. So that's the way SmackDown ended. You know, because Sasha Banks and Bayley are so good, and the IC title match was fantastic. Plus, I didn't really mind the Hardy and Sheamus segment. I'm going to give SmackDown a decent rating tonight. It wasn't terrible or anything. So let me know what you guys think about that. Other than that, guys, that's all I got for you guys on the podcast tonight. I will be right back here Sunday night. Remember that, Sunday night Backlash. We will have a full review right here on the channel. It is going to be something else. Hopefully you guys are ready for that. Thank you guys for the love and support. I'm going to get out of here. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. And enable notifications by clicking the bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. If you guys are watching on Spotify, Google Podcasts, listening, but you guys get the point. If you guys are listening on any of those streaming platforms, make sure to leave a like. Also, make sure to subscribe so you guys are notified on your devices whenever a new episode of the podcast is released. Hopefully I see you guys on Backlash this Sunday. Follow me on social media. Tweet me at GLorin33, GLORIN 33. I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Thank you guys. Stay safe and healthy. Peace.